Here we are back in our sample employer, and we're in our proposed alternate premium share group where we're exploring different premium shares and how they react when we solve to budget. So we left off looking at fixed dollars. Now we're going to want to choose the next strategy down, which is going to be percent employee independence. So notice when we choose percent employee independence, we're going to go ahead and get a separate percentage field for employee cost and a separate one for dependent. So let's go in and maybe start with 100% towards the employee and 50% towards dependents. All right, and then we click apply to all enrollment types to kick that in. Now it's important to understand this strategy is a little different than just paying a different percentage for an enrollment type. What we're actually doing is taking the premium for single and subtracting it from the family premiums so that we can isolate the employee cost, isolate the dependent cost, use two different percentages and bring those back. So here we can see that the employee cost for single would obviously be 0, but we can see what the employee cost would be charging 50% of the dependent cost. Now, we can solve the budget in that mode, but I think what we're more often to see is the idea of locking in an employee percentage. So let's see how that looks. Let's go ahead and change our employee percentage to 80. So we're using 80 for employee, 50 for dependents, and we're going to apply that to all enrollment types. And again, we're going to see that impact right away. Now, if I go into combined enrollment, notice that my plan design cost is under budget in this contribution strategy. So what I'm going to do is click Solve Lock, and it even tells you it's going to lock the employee percentage when we get back to our budget. So in other words, when I solve to budget, it is going to tell me if we want to maintain an 80% contribution to the employee, how much we have left to still meet our budget, but apply towards dependents. So let's watch what happens. Solve to budget. Notice that our plan design cost gets back to our budget. And what this is telling us is if we want to pay 80% towards the cost of the employees and be at our budget, here's what we could afford to pay for dependents. We're starting to see this used a lot more, I think, as people are starting to ramp up for affordability, wanting to be able to have conversations with their employer prospects and clients about using the same employer dollars but distributing them in a way that more is heavily impacts employee only, since that's the category that we're seeing affordability testing. If we wanted to see what happens if we step the employee contribution up to 90, we're going to click apply to all enrollment types. It's going to put us over our budget number. And again, we're going to click solve to budget. And now what it's telling us is that if we want to pay 90% towards the employee cost, we would only have 44.1913% back to pay towards dependents and meet our budget, and we can see what the employee cost is there. So solve lock on the employee percentage and solving the budget is a very powerful tool, especially when we're discussing how we want to distribute those employer dollars. As always, when we're done, we're going to click back to plan design, and again, visually now we can see that that contribution is weighted in favor of that employee only category.